Good morning. Welcome to the Windsor Star News Cafe. I'm Don MacArthur here with Dylan Christie and our special guest, Ron Sutherland. He's running. Good morning, Ron. He's running for mayor of Amherstburg. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Don.
Excellent. Welcome.
Thank you.
The big question, you must be getting it at the door. You were deputy mayor when this whole sort of financial mess hit people in the face. 46 million in debt. How did this happen in Amherstburg?
Well, let me just address that 46 million right off the top, Don. It depends on who you talk to. There are some people that say it's 61. I've heard somebody at the door tell me last week that your debt's 67 or 70 million. I have no idea where that number came from. The hard number is 46.1, and it's 61 overall with the unfunded liabilities, with projects that were done and not funded for. Back in the day when the 06 to 2010 campaign, the current mayor said that it would only cost 30 cents on the dollar. However, they never funded the 30 cents on the dollar, and that's where this problem arose. And it only came to light in our last year in 2013. In the middle of November, Councillor DePasquale put a motion on the floor for an independent audit because we were getting rumors of the finances of this and that and the other thing, and our director of finance at the time had subsequently left the corporation after letting us know that we were in a very dire straits financially. However, so we thought, well, the best thing to do then is have someone come in and do an audit. We had just completed an audit with our annual auditors, and they said everything worked fine, but they basically said whatever's on this page matches this page, everything's cool. The questions were asked, well, did you check this, did you check that? No, that wasn't part of our mandate. So that motion fell flat. Every councillor except, Councillor DePasquale put the motion on the floor. I supported it. Councillor Pouget supported it. Go figure. And the other four voted against it because of the fact that our CAO even said that there's nothing wrong with the finances. Everything's fine. Our bills are being paid. Everything's being managed. Less than a month later, we were called to a special meeting in the middle of December. And it was then announced to us that our finances were in such dire straits that we were looking at a double or triple digit tax increase, which almost gave everyone a heart attack, not only on council, but I'm sure everyone in town. And people were telling me that they're going to put their houses up for sale and they're just going to run away from the town. And we said, no, chill, let's just sit back, actually see what's going on. So I took the bull by the horns. I should back up a minute. In the middle of December, in that meeting, when it was this devastation came out, then there was that part of the meeting ended, and there was another special meeting that was held, and we had 5 visitors come in to our council, and they were from Integris Power, and they came in with this grand plan to save Amherstburg, and that's what our CAO said, that it would be a plan to save Amherstburg. Well, I guess I'm from Missouri, so to speak, show me, and I didn't buy that. And when they offered $25,000 to do a study, I was the only one on council that voted against even doing the study because I knew there was something that just didn't add up. You don't sell an asset that's revenue generating money for the only one that's revenue generating for the town. You don't give that away. And even though when they offered the $12 million eventually, our CAO said that wouldn't go to the long-term debt. So what's the point of even doing it?
Sure. But Ron, I guess the big question is, and we asked this of John Sutton too, you were on council, you were deputy mayor, in fact, like number 2 I see there. How could all of this come as a surprise? You say, okay, we found out in 2013, there was turmoil in town hall, crazy turnover. Were people unaware of this? How did this all just blow up just so late?
Well, as I say, the $11.7 million of unfunded liabilities for the infrastructure, the Libro Center, and the wastewater treatment plant, which we had to do due to the Walkerton situation. That had to be done and funded very highly by the 2 levels of government. However, there was a 30% nut on the town that administration did not ask or search for funding or apply funding from anywhere, and that just sat there, and we were paying the interest on that amount of money over a long period of time, and then the reserves were depleted entirely, and that's when we found out. But we were asking the hard questions, okay. And what are you supposed to do? Look someone in the face when you ask them, can we do this? Is there money there to do it? Yes, there is. You're lying. I don't do it that way. I've never operated in that respect. I treat everyone with respect, and it only has come out in the investigations that we've done, and that things have been revealed that things were just not looked after.
Now,
And that started, if I may just finish, guys, that started long before this term of council. Do I take responsibility for it as the deputy mayor? Absolutely. We inherited the problem. We're going to fix it, and I'll tell you about that further we get into this.
excellent. Well, it just said, I read online some of the past stories that you actually reached out to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs as well before for them to conduct an audit or at least look into it. Where does that fall into the timeline?
I did that on early January. I phoned the ministry and asked for a meeting with them, and I had a long, about an hour's conference call with Tim Ryle, Roger Moyer, and Janice, I'm sorry I lost her last name at the moment, and I asked them if they were aware of Amherstburg's financial difficulties, and they said they were very aware of the difficulties. So I said, well, what is the procedure to have either provincial manager come in and take us over, or to have the ministry come in and do an audit? And they said it would take a resolution from council, but do the audit step first. Don't go into the other area of a provincial manager. So that's what was done on the 20th of January, and that motion was put on the floor, and it was passed unanimously, 7-0. We all got together on that one. Let's have the ministry do an audit. 3 weeks later, the province calls the writ. We go into an election, but the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing had left her post by that time to run in the provincial election somewhere, and she decided on her own, and this is what we got from one of the folks from Municipal Housing, that she made the decision that we would get a financial review of best practices and not an audit, and that's what we got. We didn't get the audit we asked for or that we thought we were paying for.
Okay. You're elected mayor. How do you get Amherstburg out of the mess?
Well, we've already begun that process with the 41 recommendations from Deloitte. That we have implemented a number of them so far. And the other thing is that in our budget meeting of last year in 2014, after all of this came to be, we did put plans in place so that by the end of this year, or the end of December, we'll reduce that 46.1 million by 1.3 million, and there's a plan in place for next year's budget already that has been talked about and agreed in principle. The next council will deal with it, of course, entirely, but there's the plan in place to reduce that by another $3 million next year. So we've got the movement going to reduce that long-term debt. It's not going to happen overnight. It didn't create overnight. This has been going on for 12 or 13 years, and actually since the start of amalgamation, or when back then in '98. So it's a process that's going to take a long time. However, we do have a handle on it, and we are going to get to the bottom of it, and we will solve it eventually.
Okay. So you've been very clear. Yeah, boom, you wouldn't sell any shares in Essex Power. Sandwich Street, though, Julie Coates has had a front page story the other day. That's actually become quite a divisive issue, the repaving of Sandwich Street. Was that handled properly? Is there anything that can be done to sort of help out the businesses?
Well, the motion that was originally on the floor that I voted for, due to the advice of our legal people and whatnot, to the liability issue, et cetera, seemed very contentious. And the fact being is that Councillor Pouget and myself, Councillor Di Pasquale was away at the time, but we both insisted that if we do the Sandwich Street project, that the business owners would have their properties or the parking stalls in front of their businesses right there on Sandwich Street left alone. That's how the motion was structured. That's not how it came back, and I voted for that. Councillor Pouget voted against it, and in hindsight, I should have as well at that time. However, when it came back to council, when we had a full complement of 7 people there, and it came back that we were going to do the 3-lane configuration and eliminate all the parking stalls, a further motion was put on the floor to supersede the previous one, that the parking stalls would go back to administration to come back with a recommendation to do the project as such, but to keep the parking stalls for the business owners as they were. And that's how it was left. Lo and behold, the next council meeting, the recommendation comes back and it was exactly the same. So Councillors Di Pasquale, Councillor Pouget, and myself all voted against even doing the project. We wanted it stopped at that point. Even though the pavement had been torn up and whatnot, the resident or the business owners deserve to have the parking stalls that have been there forever, bloody ever. And it's just not happening. Our lawyer kept talking about liability issues, and I believe Councillor De Pasquale said that, well, as the retired Deputy Chief of Police, how many accidents have been reported on Sandwich Street due to that parking, etc., over the last number of years? And nobody could answer the question. And Bart said, well, as long as I was on the police board, there were none. So really, what liability issue was there? So it's wrong as the way it turned out. However, it's something we have to live with, and we have to move on.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think most of, if not all of the candidates, especially new candidates running in Amherstburg, are running that there needs to be a new face, new voice in Amherstburg to kind of undo some of the things that happened on past councils. You yourself are saying that you feel that the town needs new leadership. How do you, I guess, rebuild that trust, ensure the residents of Amherstburg that you are kind of working your way out of this, and just that this won't happen again and that this can improve?
Well, number one, there are safeguards in place now where we can't do projects without having the funding available, such as with Texas Road, and I'll lead into that in a moment. But the fact is that I've been working hard and strong for the past 4 years. I've paid my due diligence. I was on the Police Services Board for 7 years prior to being on council. I was also the president of the Ontario Association of Police Services Boards, which is the governing body for the province of police services. And I've learned an awful lot about governance, both at the municipal level and the provincial level. So I bring a vast amount of experience to the table, and I've been working diligently to bring Amherstburg back and to start on the road to success again. And Amherstburg is a beautiful, beautiful town. We can't let it go down the drain. And people have said to me, well, why don't you just bite the bullet and go declare bankruptcy? Well, you can't. In the province of Ontario, the Municipal Act states that you cannot. So we have to get ourselves, the town got itself in the mess. This council has begun to get it out of the mess, and I intend to lead the next council in continuing in this process so that after the next 4 years, we'll be in a lot better shape than we are today, and we are actually seeing the light of day today.
Okay, we just want to give you a chance before we wrap up, because you had mentioned Texas Road. That's obviously a big issue. So what do you want to say about Texas Road?
Well, Texas Road, there's some interesting statements being made by those that have never been on council, never gone to a council meeting, and don't understand the process of what's happened. In 2013, I put the motion on the floor to redo Texas Road because that was part of my campaign 4 years ago, was that I was going to do the 3rd concession, the 6th concession of Texas Road were part of the mandate that I chose to run for, and we accomplished 2 of them. And when I put the motion on the floor to do Texas Road, that passed unanimously, and I asked the administration again, have we got the funding in place to do this project? Absolutely. So there you go. We pass it. Then our Director of Finance, who had only joined the corporation 3 months prior to that, ascertained that we weren't even sure if we could pay our daily bills and whatnot. Scared the heck out of everyone. So that's what prompted me to go to the ministry, et cetera, et cetera. So naturally, the Texas Road project had to be put on hold. However, at that time that most people aren't aware of, there were funding in place from the provincial government for roads in small communities, and there was $100 million on the table. However, when the writ was called, that got canceled. It's now just been put back into place. We've reapplied and for Texas Road, and the monies, we're very confident that we're going to be successful in our quest. That first stage of that process should be done by the end of October, November at the very latest. We move on to stage 2, and it's fully in the plan and on the budget process for next year to do Texas Road. End of story. So that hopefully that puts to bed that fallacy that's been spread around that Texas Road has just been left alone, and it has been left alone for too long.
Okay. All right, Ron, so we've got to wrap it up, so we'll give you sort of 30 seconds, make your final pitch to the voters of Amherstburg. Why you?
Well, as I say, I've spent many years in the municipal area of governance through the Police Services Board and as the Deputy Mayor. And I've made my due diligence so I understand the process. I know what can be done, I know what can't be done. And just to illustrate some of the leadership moves that I intend to make, and I'm just going to quote from something that'll be in the local paper tomorrow.
The Rivertown Times?
In the Rivertown Times.
I love that. It's a great little paper.
As far as I'm concerned, it's the greatest small town paper in the world.
Or the greatest big town?
You got it. Excuse me. But I'm just going to read a short excerpt here of a thing that will be in the Rivertown Times tomorrow.
Okay.
If elected mayor, I pledge to rebuild our economic base through my Accelerate Amherstburg initiative, a committee which will include a highly respected international logistics executive who sees the potential in meeting with Honeywell to examine the possibility of reopening their Deepwater port and the creation of a major warehousing center hooked to the Essex Terminal Railway. That's the future of Amherstburg, bringing back industry, and I believe the first place to start would be with a logistics setup right there in the Honeywell property. There's a port right there. There's a tunnel underneath the highway. The railroad needs a little bit of attention so that we could transport the goods, but I truly believe that would be the best start that we could do, and I already have plans in place to begin a municipal or a mayoral's advertising or advisory panel, which will it won't be a committee of council because we have an economic development committee now, but I'm suggesting that we have this as a committee of the mayor, of which I'm not necessarily going to chair, but there will be people that I've just talked about, and others in the town from all walks of life, so that we can get some valuable input and start moving Amherstburg forward instead of backwards like we have been.
Okay, Ron Sutherland, I just want to give you a big thanks. You helped out at Raise a Reader out at the Tim Hortons a couple of weeks ago. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for joining us here in the Windsor Star News Cafe. Accelerate Amherstburg. Ron Sutherland, he's running for mayor.
Thank you very much.